This is our beautiful dog, Lamyai. We've got 3 dogs, and she was the first one that we were given, actually, by the man that we bought this land from. And this is Lamot. Come here, boy. Hey, Lamot is the second dog that we got shortly after, and he came from a place called Care for Dogs in Chiang Mai. He's our lovely boy. Hey, Lamyai is a female, and Lamot's a male, and a lot of people ask us if they're brother and sister, but they're not. They look very similar, and they're about the same age. We think that they're both about 7 years old now, and they've been with us since they were very young, since they were just a few months old. And Lamyai is just a lovely, gentle soul. She's a very gentle, spirited dog. She is a little bit of a worrier. She's often got this worried look on her face. She always has these wrinkles here. I'm always telling her, don't worry, you don't need to be worried. You've got such a good life here. Sometimes if they're naughty, I threaten them to send them to Bangkok for a couple of days to see what it's like to live in the streets of Bangkok, whereas here they've got all the freedom that they could enjoy. But you don't know any different, do you, girl? And initially, I was not a dog person. I've never really been much of a dog person in my life, but when I met my lovely wife, she had another dog. She had Biak, and Biak was an English Bull Terrier. And when I met him, I decided that I didn't want to be his enemy, that I'd better make sure that I'm his friend. So we became very good friends, Biak and I. He was very old and he'd gone blind, and so he didn't actually come and stay with us until the very end. But it kind of paved the way having him. And then when we came here, we thought, well, we're going to have to get a dog. And we were up in the village one day, probably about a month before our house was finished. And Lung Wan, the man that we bought this land from, sort of said, hey, we've got a couple of puppies. We thought you might like a puppy in your new home. And just come and have a look. And so we went and had a look. And, of course, we came home with Lamyai that day. So she commuted with us back and forth to Chiang Mai for the first month. And you didn't like that at all, did you? You didn't like going in the car. She threw up in the car every time we took her in the car. But she loved being down here. She loved the freedom that it meant to be on the property with us. And then so after being here for a short time, once we'd moved in, we went to Care for Dogs. Pansar had found this place online, and she'd seen the photos of the dog that we named Lamot, and he was probably about 4 months old when we got him. And he's been enjoying living here, and they get on super well together. They've grown up together and really are quite delightful. Lamot's quite a lot more energetic usually, although Lamyai did come for a run with me this morning when I went for my bike ride. Didn't you, eh? So you're tired today. But Lamot can be a bit of a rascal. He's a very gentle dog. He's never hurt anybody, but he does like to chase motorcycles. So we have got a special collar for him to use sometimes when he's been doing that a little bit much, and it just helps rein him in. I was out on the porch one morning, a long time ago. He was still quite young, probably less than a year old, and I noticed some drops of blood on the concrete on the path, and I thought, and then I turned and saw Lamot sitting curled up in the corner of the porch, and he was bleeding from his mouth, from his face, and he didn't look very happy at all. So I wasn't sure what had happened, and then later in the day we met one of the neighbours who said, your dog had jumped into a pig pen and it mauled a baby pig, and they'd had to put the pig down. So we said, can you ask the neighbour, please introduce us to the owner? So we went up and apologised and paid him for the pig, and just let that settle. So it wasn't a problem. We needed to make sure that we're not upsetting our neighbours in any way, or that our dog wasn't upsetting our neighbours in any way. And so we were able to sort that out, and Lamot changed after that. Apparently the old farmer had swung at him with a piece of 4x2 or a tree branch or something and knocked him out, and picked him up and threw him out of the pig pen, and said to the other people that were standing there, somebody take him and bury him or eat him. And at that point, Lamont shook himself awake and ran back home. So when I met this farmer, this pig owner, I was quite surprised. He was just this wiry little old man that he'd had the strength in him to knock my dog out. No, I had no hard feelings about it. Lamont should not have been attacking his pig, but it did have the good effect of helping Lamont calm down a little bit. And we have got one other dog that isn't actually ours, but she lives here, and we've been feeding her for quite a while. And we found her. She found us. She was a stray, and she was living up in a field under the lamia trees further up the road here. We realised that she was pregnant, and she ended up having 8 puppies under the trees in a hole in the ground. And my darling wife photographed them all and put all of these photos of 8 little puppies on Facebook and managed to find homes for them all. So then we took War, that's her name, is War because that's the noise she makes when she talks to you. We took her down to the vets and had her fixed so she won't have puppies anymore, and we've just been feeding her ever since. And she is a really lovely natured dog, but she was initially very, very frightened. I'd sort of put my hand out to pat her sometimes and she'd flinch away and sort of start really easily. She really, really hates the thunder and lightning when we have big storms here. But we don't like letting her inside because she's incontinent. But she has changed over the years. Initially, she wouldn't come close to the guests when we have guests come to Suansook Homestay here. The other 2 dogs would go and greet our guests, but War never would. But she has changed over time, and now she is also comfortable enough to approach strangers, and when we have guests she's also coming to greet them and has just relaxed a lot more. And she's a beautiful, very soft-natured, gentle little dog. So we named our dog Lamyai after the fruit that used to grow in the orchard here on this land, because it seemed appropriate. She was coming from the owner of the Lamyai orchard, and her coat is about the same colour as the lamia fruit. And same with lamut. Lamut is another type of Thai tropical fruit, and it's the same colour as he is. So we thought we'd give them 2 similar names that are both named after Thai fruit. So there's just a quick introduction to our lovely dogs that you'll meet if you come to stay with us here at Suansook Homestay. And if you'd like to know more about our lifestyle here, please check out these videos. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. Thanks very much for watching.